Hi guys, welcome to our next episode of Back to Basics. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Deepti, founder of Healclinic, which is a wellness platform. So in today's episode, we will look at Theta Healing, which has become extremely popular over the last decade. And we have with us Ruchira, who will help us to decode and demystify this therapy. So basically, if you look at Ruchira, a slide into poor health set her off on a journey of self-discovery. And that is when she left her corporate life after 27 years to focus on healing. And for the last 7 to 8 years, she has been focused on working with clients to help them with different kinds of physical ailments, fears, depression, relationship issues, career issues, basically rediscovering themselves to find their amazing selves. So let's welcome Ruchira to our today's session. And let's start with asking her, which is something I'm very curious about, that how did you decide to become a Theta healer, Ruchira?
Thank you so much, Deepti. Thanks for having me here for the interview. So you've given a part of the story. It's actually a long story. The thing is that I worked in the corporate sector for 27 years. I was doing jobs that I felt that I had to do to earn a living. So I was actually living up to a lot of expectations, maybe collective consciousness beliefs, fears. So I was doing what I thought was best in terms of what was expected of me.
Right.
Till I reached a stage where I felt very, very burnt out. And it all started showing up as health issues, as you've mentioned. I had ignored myself, my feelings, my body for such a long time that the floodgates literally opened when I reached a perimenopausal stage. So at that point, I started bleeding buckets. I was bleeding for 20 days in a month. My hemoglobin had dropped to 6.2. And
wow.
Is I think some 11 to
11. For females, it's 11.
Yeah, it had dropped to 6.2. I was on the verge of hospitalization, and the only solution doctor said was hysterectomy. So surgery. Now, as I mentioned that, I till that time was doing things that were expected. I was working out of fears, but this was the first time that I realized that I actually didn't want to do surgery. I realized what I actually wanted. So, and it was one of those few times that I knew what I wanted. So, coincidentally, a friend introduced me to a Theta healer. The experience proved so powerful for me that I decided to learn it for myself.
Right.
I did Theta healing, I worked on my health, and within a few months, my bleeding normalized. My hemoglobin went up to 13.4.
Wow.
With Theta healing and diet changes alone, without medication. Had my periods for 2 years after that and had the smoothest menopause. And not only that, what I started realizing was that my general health became a lot better. I was a childhood asthmatic, my asthma started improving. So there were all kinds of changes.
Right.
But you know that after 2 years, when I went for a regular gynae check, my gynae looked at my reports and she said, "You didn't get hysterectomy done." So I said, "No." So she said, "What happened?" So I said, "I worked myself in Theta healing." She was so surprised and so taken in by it that actually she learned Theta healing from me herself.
Nice.
So that was the beauty of it, yeah. And
Right.
myself further, I realized healing was about valuing and loving yourself, about following your heart. Like I mentioned that, before I was not really following my heart. I was following fears. So my heart then said I wanted to help people. So I left my job to do exactly that without fear of where the money was going to come from, without fear of, whether it's a viable profession, healing, because it was so different from what I was doing then.
Right.
But I knew that my heart wanted it. And the universe backed me. Everything that wasn't for my highest and best, where I wasn't loved or valued, changed. My job changed. As you can see, I'm a healer now. My health changed. Stress changed. Joy came in. Relationships that weren't for my highest and best, where I wasn't valued, either improved or left. So I can't say I never questioned myself on what I was doing. I did when things were changing so fast.
Right.
things are not always that easy. I realized when I was trying very hard to hold on to certain things, things became difficult. But the minute I let go, it was absolutely wonderful.
Right. I think that's the crazy part, that the moment you let go of something, it starts working in your life. And that's the most difficult thing to do,
Yeah,
to let go.
absolutely. It is one of the most difficult things to do, but once you start doing it, it's so easy as well.
So tell me something, Vianna Stibal, who is the creator of this modality, Theta Healing. I mean, this is one of those modalities whose creator is still there. It's not that older thing. Even she had something of a very miraculous journey which brought her to this stage, right?
Absolutely. She had, like, I think it was even more miraculous. Vianna actually was diagnosed with bone cancer. This was in the 90s. She had a tumor in her right femur.
Okay.
And she was told that amputation may be her best option. And it would give her a little more time to live, because they said that this was fatal.
Mm-hmm.
She was a naturopath. So she started using naturopathy. She did a series of lemon cleanses. She spent 4 hours a day in sauna for 2.5 weeks. When the biopsy results finally came back, they were negative.
Okay.
So, however, they said that she had lymphatic cancer. She knew this was because of mercury poisoning. She already knew that, because in Theta Healing, your intuition really gets sharpened. You know exactly what's happening. So I'll get into that later. She continued with the cleanses, nutrition oils, vitamins, affirmations, visualizations, but she was still sick.
Mm-hmm.
Now her leg had actually physically shrunk. And she was told that if she did survive, she would need physical therapy to be able to walk correctly again.
Okay.
That's how far gone it was. And around that time, she went camping in the hills with her friends and an aunt. And while they were there, her aunt developed a very severe stomachache. Now, Vianna is a natural healer. If you meet her, you will know, her radiation energy is so great, and she can just heal. So, she didn't have all her naturopathic medicine there. So she put her hand on her aunt's stomach, and she basically sent consciousness from her crown chakra to the creator, what we call the creator in Theta Healing. It is the source. You can call it God, Buddha, Allah, whatever you want. In Theta Healing, we call it the creator, the source where we all come from.
Okay.
And she went up and said, ask the creator actually to make it go away, the pain. She then witnessed the creator releasing the pain. Within seconds, her aunt felt much better. And the next day, when she went back to her clinic, she said, why don't I try this technique with, her clients? There was a client who had been coming to her with a backache and he was not getting okay. So she tried it and he got okay. And when she realized that, it was working beautifully, she said, why don't I try it on myself? So she tried the same technique where she went up, she asked the creator to heal her, and and uh, and within seconds, her leg, which had shrunk by 3 inches, returned to normal size. The pain was gone, her leg was healed, and that was the foundation of Theta.
Wow, that is so interesting.
Yeah.
So, which means that when we go through trauma, our belief systems, what we think about, because belief systems and trauma play a very big part in Theta Healing. So, can you tell us from where do these belief systems come? Is it only from childhood? Is it from previous lifetimes? How does it work?
Yeah. As you saw in Vianna's case, actually, it was not so much belief systems. It was basically environmental causes. It was mercury poisoning. So she healed just by commanding the healing. Whereas in my case, it was more than that. It was actually belief systems. So, so, so in most cases, actually, if it is not an environmental cause, Theta Healing can help through digging for the beliefs and then changing them. Okay. Now, trauma, typically, as you mentioned, Deepti, of one kind or another is I feel, at the root of your issues. So healing the trauma through resolving emotions and energy clearing is what helps. Now, trauma doesn't only have to be something extreme like abuse or accidents. It can be something as deceptively innocuous and as not being hurt by a parent, not being seen, not having emotional attunement. It is basically a response to an event that a person finds highly stressful. So it could be anything. And all of us, to some degree, have gone through some kind of trauma or the other, big or small. Now, trauma that causes illness typically starts early in childhood. For example, when you were shamed for being you, like how clumsy are you? Now, to one child, it could mean nothing. To another child, he could take it very seriously. As a child, you don't have the cognitive ability to understand that the adult shouldn't label you, okay, that it's wrong. You think it is something that you did that evoked that response. So you form conclusions about yourself, and then these become belief systems. For example, in this case, where you've been told how clumsy are you, you can form a belief system that I deserve to be shamed because I am clumsy. So what will happen is that when you grow up, you will subconsciously, energetically be okay with love that shames because that's what you're familiar with. That's how deep the belief systems run. Now, actually, if the small example, if you break this down, the conclusion that I deserve to be shamed is actually very painful for a child. It's not easy for a child to handle that. And this conclusion actually has a reaction in their body. And the reaction could be like a fight-flight response. So it could be fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Like now they say it's not just fight or flight, it's freeze and fawn as well. So that gets switched on, which in turn brings up defense mechanisms to keep the person safe. Or being defiant, or the child may just clam up, or the child may start pleasing the caregiver by being obedient, or may take the attention off the topic by distraction. So the child can adopt any kind of defense mechanism. And because these defense mechanisms seem easier for the child to deal with than the primary emotion of shame. So what's happened here is the child has pushed the primary emotion of shame away and they're actually dealing with the defense mechanisms. So why is that? Because let's assume the child actually acknowledges that they are feeling shame. If once the child acknowledges that they are feeling shame, they will need a safe environment to express it and they will want some soothing for it. However, expressing may seem too dangerous because in a lot of households which are not very emotionally aware, they may further be shamed or scolded or ignored, you know. So which is why, and it could also mean that you're saying that your caregiver hurt you when you say that I'm feeling shame. So all this is very scary for the child because they're scared that this may have consequences that they can't deal with, that it could also lead to emotional abandonment by the caregiver. Since kids are not capable of looking after themselves, emotional abandonment is not an option they want. So what do? It is easier for them to think that the problem lies with me and then they react to that. So typically that's how trauma starts, causes belief systems in you and then develops defense mechanisms. And then what happens is that later in life, any innocuous trigger can activate this mode and bring up learned defense mechanisms. This is activating the shame response. So if somebody has very innocuously said something to you and not really meant to hurt you, your defense mechanism will come up because you will remember the shame that you felt then. Okay. So then you will react to it in one way or the other, or you may run away from it. But any which way, what you're doing is that you're diverting the issue from the original emotion of shame because you find it too scary to deal with the original emotion of shame. Do you know that emotions actually, if acknowledged and not pushed away like this, are first felt, are actually last in the body for only 90 seconds. And if they last longer than that, then it is your belief systems recreating that emotion again and again. Okay. So
I think that's the main cause because most of us are taught from childhood not to express emotions, like, shut up and deal with it, or it's not to be expressed. And then later on, that is what all that comes out.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. So you asked me the question that, where do belief systems come from? So this was an example of belief systems coming from this life, where in childhood you've experienced something and you form a belief system. So this in Theta Healing we call the core belief system, which comes from this life. Then there are belief systems that can come from your genetic memory. Just like your genes remember everything else in your body, it carries the diabetes gene, it carries the allergy gene. It can also carry information about trauma and belief systems. Okay. So if your parents believe they can't have abundance, let's say, it is unlikely that you will feel abundant. Maybe they have the belief system that money doesn't buy happiness. Maybe they have the belief system that having money is selfish, or I am not good with money, or the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. I can either make money or follow my passion. It could be any of these. You've heard like your parents say all these things to you, right? So this, they could be genetic. These are called genetic belief systems. Then there can be historical level belief systems. We call them historical level in Theta. But basically, these could be very deep genetic memory, or it could be from past lives, that you're carrying a memory from one of your past lives, or it could be collective consciousness beliefs. For example, you have to work hard to earn money is a very common Indian belief, collective consciousness belief. Or cancer is incurable is a collective consciousness belief across the world. So also actually in the historical belief systems are also belief systems that you pick up. Do you know that every object carries imprints? So if an object that is carrying a very strong imprint of something and you touch it, you can actually pick up the belief system. So historical level covers all of these belief systems. You could have taken an oath of poverty in another life, and that is a belief system you could be carrying. The last, which is the fourth, is the soul level belief system. Now, the soul is actually learning lessons every minute. Your soul, Theta Healing, at least we believe that the soul is here to learn lessons. And it's learning lessons. And any belief system which is carried by the soul is at a very deep level in your system. Okay? So just to give you an example, for example, why are some people okay with cheating and some not? Because their souls have maybe not yet had the learning that maybe cheating harms someone. Maybe they were cheated in another life and they feel that they need to take revenge. So they may carry the belief cheating is required. Maybe their soul is learning forgiveness. So that can be a soul level belief system. So they can come from various places. Yeah.
Right. So basically what you're saying is in Theta Healing, beliefs are identified at 4 levels: the core level, the genetic level, the history level, and the soul level.
Yes.
So tell me, once you identify these beliefs in a client, how do you change them?
Yeah. So changing belief systems can be done in various ways. You can do affirmation like a lot of people do. They say something positive for many days at a stretch, and that can change your belief system 30 to 40% of the time. Visualization can change it 50% of the time. The theta state, which is what theta healing is likely to change it 80 to 90% of the time. That's how powerful the theta state is. I'm going to just tell you a little bit about the theta state. In theta healing, sorry. In theta healing, we use the theta state of mind to change belief systems. In this state, you can rewire your subconscious data. Now, there was a research which was done by Lecter and colleagues in 2002, where there were two groups of people. Both were facing clinical depression. One group was administered antidepressants. The other one was given a placebo. Basically, just some pill, sugar pill. So no difference in response rates was noticed between the two groups. It was absolutely the same. One sec, Deepti, I'm just going to have some water. Yeah. So So the placebo, in the group where the placebo was given, it showed that there was an increased theta brainwave activity in the prefrontal cortex of the brain, which is this part of the brain. It's called the prefrontal theta cortex. And they said that that is what actually led to their recovery. That is how powerful the theta brainwave is. So in Theta Healing, what we do is that the practitioner connects to the source, the creator that I mentioned earlier, and understands what belief systems pertaining to the issue that they've come for are driving this person. And once the belief systems are shown, the practitioner will not immediately say that this is your belief system. Let's say, you're shown the belief system that life is difficult. So if you tell the person that, you believe that life is difficult, they'll say, no, I don't believe that. Not because they don't want to admit it, but because their conscious mind is not aware of it. So what we then do is that we go through a process of digging, which is what, where, why, how. And we direct the client to the belief systems that have been shown to us in Theta, in the Theta brainwave state. So the client eventually, as you keep digging and directing the client towards the belief system, eventually the client will say, actually, I believe that life is difficult. So once the client has said that, then they own it. And that's when you can make the change. So then with their permission, we make the change. The other thing which is very important in Theta Healing is free will. So their permission is required. When the client says yes, that is when we make the change, because with free will, they are co-creating in the process. So
Right.
That's how beliefs are changed. Yeah.
That's a very powerful way, because changing the beliefs in
Yeah.
a session, which identifying, releasing it and changing it to a more empowered belief is something which is very powerful. So then when you're working at belief level, does this mean that any kind of challenges can be dealt with, whether it's physical ailments, psychological ailments, relationships, financial, any kind of challenges, or is there only certain kinds?
Everything. It could be illnesses, physical, mental. It could be relationship issues, career issues, abundance issues. It could be all kinds of things. Love. So,
could you give us an example of some client that came to you with a particular issue? What belief came up, and without naming it.
So there are actually lots of examples. There was, one who came with adrenal fatigue. And she said that, she had tried all kinds of things and actually nothing was really working. So she said that she had tried medicine, therapy, yoga, lifestyle changes. I think she had been struggling with it for a couple of years. And just for 2 sessions, because we unearthed some amazing beliefs, that probably served her at some point, but we had to let them go now. She said that she went from feeling utterly helpless and miserable to genuinely being grateful towards life. And her adrenal fatigue went away in 2 sessions. There was a client who came, she had some issue with passing motion. She had not passed motion for 1 week. She had tried everything and nothing worked. And then we did 1 session on her, and it was she was absolutely fine. She never got it again. And after that, she did 1 more session with me, and where she said that we unearthed a childhood trauma, and she said that for the first time in her life, she lost weight. And this was many years ago, and she's still okay.
So what are some of the most common beliefs that you come across? Irrespective of gender, age, the kind of challenges they face.
Yeah. See, at the root, I feel, of everything is I am alone.
Okay.
I will fail. I am unworthy. And it could be that I will let God down. I will let myself down. So these are actually really at the base level. You will find that these are the belief systems which drive almost everywhere. What we call the bottom beliefs.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, because I think most of us at some level do have these beliefs, because at some point or the other in our lives, Either we have been made to experience that, or we have been told that we are not worthy, or we don't deserve, or to be loved, or to achieve success, or things like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Very, very powerful.
And you're not aware in your conscious mind, actually. So I am unworthy is something that most people are not aware of. What I notice in the healing is that when we start the session, in one of the first sessions, you always unearth, I am unworthy by the end of it. And it is something that the client is not aware of. In the conscious mind, they don't feel that they feel that.
No, that's brilliant. So to all of our listeners who are listening to this, do try and see if you can feel this sense of loneliness, unworthiness, unlove, unrespecting of yourself in any areas or all areas of your life, because I think this is something very powerful that Ruchira has said. So thank you so much for this, Ruchira. One last question, because I know that you do a lot of workshops on Theta Healing, starting with the basic Theta Healing DNA to advanced, dig deeper. Then there are a lot of things which go in order: manifestation, connection with creators, soulmate. So let's say if I want to become a Theta healer practitioner, then yes, it makes sense for me to do these. But what about someone who doesn't want to be a practitioner? Do these workshops make sense for them?
Actually, most of the people who do it don't want to be practitioners. They do it for themselves. And in fact, most of them, I would say that 70 to 80% of them actually do it only for themselves. And it works beautifully. It's transformational. It changes their life. They actually then work on themselves on a regular basis. Like I said, that very simply put, it actually takes you back to the start of the emotion, the start of the belief system, the emotion that you have pushed away and not dealt with. And it takes you back to where it started. It could be a past life, it could be this life, it could be ancestral memory. And in Theta Healing, through your intuition, once you sharpen it, once you learn the technique, you're able to actually go to that starting point and then heal yourself there onwards and change the belief system. That's how powerful the modality is. So they basically practice it every day on themselves to change any belief system that they feel is coming in the way. And it's a lifelong process. You can never say that I'm a finished product at any point in time. And it's a very good, handy tool to, feel empowered.
Right. No, beautiful. So to anyone out there who does want to learn Theta Healing, Ruchira does these workshops every month. So do connect with us in case you're interested in doing a session.
Almost every month.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Ruchira, for coming in the beautiful explanation and how Theta Healing works. I'm signing up for a session because I think this is really brilliant.
That's nice. I've signed up one client. Good.
Thank you so much. And to all our listeners, if you like this, do share this with all the others who you think can benefit from this. And let us know if there are any other therapies or concepts that you want to know about, and we'll try our best to bring them to you.